Good evening and welcome to the miNEStry. I am Archbishop Dracul, and alongside me is Father Avram. Our creed is to inspire our parishioners with reflections on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Tonight we are reflecting on Dragon Spirit: The New Legend, a 1989 arcade port of the 1987 vertical shooter Dragon Spirit by Namco. Namco was responsible for other arcade classics like Pacman, Galaga, and Dig Dug, to name a few. The NES port was developed by Now Production and published by Namco in Japan, but published by Bandai in North America. Now Production also created NES titles including Noid and entries 2 and 3 in the Adventure Island series. Tonight our visiting Deacon is Jeff Gabor. Welcome.
Thanks for having me back.
Deacon Gabor, do you have any announcements or things you would like to let the parish know about?
I do actually. This time I have something to say. I'm actually part of another podcast, and I think you two would actually be interested in it. It's called A Couple More Minutes. It's another podcast talking about retro video games and animation, and it features a couple cool dudes. Well, at least one guy named Pete Paquette and myself host it, and I think it's worth a listen.
We'll definitely take a look. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the plug.
An offering for the original arcade game. Dragon Spirit was developed by Namco in 1987 and was published and distributed by Atari. That's very strange. I don't remember Atari having a handle on Dragon Spirit in the arcades.
I was trying to put that together too. Yeah, it's super weird to have Atari be involved at all. Maybe that was common, but I have no memory of that kind of like interaction.
No, I never made that connection at all. According to arcademuseum.com, there are 6,980 machines in existence today, with a rarity scale of 1 to 100, with 1 being the most rare. Dragon Spirit ranks at 17.
That's pretty rare.
Yep, it is pretty rare.
17%, top 17% rarity. I mean, what's interesting about that is that, 6,980 machines, like, you think about it, that's a lot of machines, right?
But is that worldwide?
It's got to be. But still, like, you're talking about an arcade machine, right? You're not. It's like they're not everywhere anymore, right? So, like, when they were everywhere, then yeah, I could see how this would be. But in the grand scheme of things today, like how arcade machines have kind of dwindled, I feel like almost 7,000 is a lot of machines, but
yeah. So I know we're here to mainly talk about the NES game, but did you guys get a chance to play the arcade game much?
Very briefly. I have a very brief history with it of trying it in the arcades here and there whenever I'd see it, and trying the emulator at home recently. It is extremely difficult.
Yeah, we're going to go into the gameplay of the NES, but I will say, like, when you're playing the arcade version, it's much more similar to like an R-Type or, these like traditional arcade shooters that are basically there to suck your quarters, because it just feels such like a bullet hell classic type of game where it's just extremely difficult to stay alive. I don't know. For my part, I would say it's actually not nearly as good of a game, actually. It has far superior graphics, of course, and I don't know if you got so far as to see, like, it has a lot different upgrades to your weapons, so there's variation in that. But man, cool. They've ramped up the difficulty so much. There's a dark level on the NES version. Did you guys play that level?
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty intense and difficult on the Nintendo. But in the I got there on the arcade, and imagine you're instead of like the screen going all dark and it goes pitch black and then it goes back up and pitch black and you get a moment to like see what everything is and then it all goes away. Instead, in the arcade, your dragon has a little bit of a flashlight ahead of it, and that's all you get. You get this little bit of slit of vision, and everything else is black. And you can pick up every once in a while. You can pick up a little yellow orb that'll increase your rate, like your diameter of your flashlight beam, but it's still small, and things are just coming off a screen. Like all of a sudden, if you're hanging back at the bottom of the screen, bullet came in, because it's also the dark, or the light is a cone. So the closer it gets to you, obviously, the less room you see to your left and right, and bullets are just coming straight from the left and right, and you're dead. It's awful. It's awful design.
Wow.
I'm amazed you got that far in the arcade game.
Yeah, it was not easy, and it's definitely like any one of those like Gradius and that kind of game where it's like, if you die at any point, they really do not give you much ability to like regain your skills. Like, you're just dead again and again and again. Like, it compounds. And heaven help you if you even get hit once, because I know you have like a life bar, but there's like 0 iframes or invisibility frames. Like, you just get hit, you're done. Like, it's not. So that, to say the least, there's some huge differences between the arcade and the Nintendo.
Yeah, in fact, Deacon Gabor was sharing with me before this episode that when he was a boy, he spent the entirety of his college education fund to beat the game.
Yeah, it's all gone.
But thankfully so, because, had it been that difficult on the NES, it would have been a non-starter.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about some of the gameplay in just a bit.
It would have been in the trash pile for sure. With Bayou Billy.
Right. Well,
wait. The Forsaken. With the Forsaken, the Adventures of Bayou Billy.
Yes.
A testament to the creators. Haro 7000. What a weird name. He's in charge of game design. He also worked on Splatterhouse. What? I never even knew this was the full title. Splatterhouse Wanpaku Graffiti?
Yep.
Okay.
It was.
I never knew that was the full title. Okay, so
it's actually a really fun Famicom game.
Okay. All right. Well, he worked on that game. He was also in charge of support. This is really interesting. And for Galaga 88 in 1991 for the Game Gear, he was the producer, if I'm reading this correctly, for the 1991 Dragon Saber after story of Dragon Spirit for the TurboGrafx 16, which Archbishop Dracul and I were discussing this and realized that neither one of us knew that there was a sequel all these years.
I know. I want to play it really badly now.
Mm-hmm.
And he was also the producer for Dig Dug in 1992 for the Game Boy. Haru Chitani. He was in charge of character design. He also worked on Jackie Chan's Action Kung Fu, Dragon Saber after story of Dragon Spirit, some pedigree there, I guess. He also worked on Final Soldier as the director for the TurboGrafx 16 in 1991. Masakatsu Meikawa, sound design. Also worked on Jackie Chan's Action Kung Fu. The Final Soldier. Splatterhouse 2. And Rolling Thunder 3. The only NES game was Jackie Chan's Action Kung Fu on this list here. The rest were Genesis, TurboGrafx 16. So, what's interesting about this, I have to say, besides like this creators list, historically speaking, we've seen a lot of other NES works, but a lot of this team went on to work on titles for other consoles.
Yeah, very
Game
much
Gear, Genesis, TurboGrafx 16, Game Boy. There's a lot of those on here.
Hmm.
Which maybe that's because it's Namco. Now that I'm thinking about it, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm.
Because Namco, I think Namco did a lot for the Genesis, if I remember correctly.
We know they did Splatterhouse 2 and Rolling Thunder 3.
Yeah.
Don't you kind of wonder what it means to produce Dig Dug in 1992?
The Game Boy, yeah.
It feels like, do you really need to do anything there? It's like
Yeah,
it's
just
1992. It's 10 years or so after Dig Dug came out. Like, it feels like the game kind of writes itself at that point. But I guess he did something.
Yeah, he sits with his feet up on a desk and with a big old cigar.
Yeah, Mr. 7000. Arrow 7000.
Let's talk about marketing a little bit. I remember seeing screenshots of this game for the TurboGrafx 16 in the Electronic Gaming Monthly magazine. The issue with Batman on the NES. And in it had an insert of all the 16-bit game systems and all the graphics and everything like that. And one of them was Dragon Spirit. And I was like, this looks amazing. I can be a dragon. And because I didn't know about the arcade game back then. So I was completely blown away. And then I found out it was just before the holidays of 1989. I caught wind of the NES version coming out, and I was like, I need it for Christmas, please. And my parents followed through. So, as far as what would you call this? A flyer?
I think you would call it a shmup.
I think you need to shut the fuck up.
I think you guys are not on the same page.
So there is an advertisement, and it's a beautiful bright red background with the logo of Dragon Spirit from the opening screen, and a little bit of a paragraph or so describing the story. A reading from the ad. Bring arcade magic home to your Nintendo with the classic non-stop shooting adventure of Dragon Spirit. The world is in chaos. The princess has been captured, and the fate of the kingdom of Midgold lies in your hands. Transform into the blue dragon and hang on for shooting action wild enough to put a blister on your finger. Blast your way through 10 levels of super graphics as you acquire an arsenal of weapons big enough to challenge the darkest forces of evil. 11 huge boss enemies will put your magic to the test and push your Nintendo skills to the limit as you battle for the life of the princess. The spirit of the dragon must triumph. A reading from the ad. Praise be Bandai. There were 2 commercials released, one for the NES and one for the Famicom. Once again, the Japan got the better version. Did you guys watch
Oh yeah.
the US version.
Yeah. But yeah, the quality is better on the Famicom Japan version, but there's something super charming about how awful the USA one is.
The first thing that came to mind when I saw the dragon was it looked like a ball sack with 3 dicks on it.
Oh my god. Do you remember those little puppets that we used to have in the 80s? They were like these little like ugly moblin things, toys.
Yeah, Boglins.
Yeah, Boglins. That's what they look like. These dragons were made out of a horrible meltdown of the Boglins.
Yeah, so for context, so everybody knows, this commercial featured the blue dragon with 3 heads, and it was flying around shooting things, but it's all puppets. Everything was puppets except the princess. So that was kind of weird.
Kinda.
Dragon Spirit, the new legend. In this non-stop action game for your Nintendo Entertainment System, you transform into the mighty blue dragon to rescue the princess from the grasp of an evil demon. To get to its lair, you'll have to blast fiendish enemies every step of the way, fighting through 10 levels of heart-pounding action on land, sea, and air, right up to the ultimate battle with the demon itself. Can you rescue the princess and save the kingdom? Dragon Spirit, the video game from Bandai.
And the princess was like wrapped in a snake, I think.
It's very trippy.
Yeah, it's bizarre. The Japanese one, on the other hand, was like watching an intro to an anime. It was pretty damn cool.
Mm.
로망싱 슈팅 게임 드래곤 스피릿 新たなる伝説 Namco.
Very much anime vibes in that commercial. It almost reminded me of the style of like the modern Castlevania anime. Like that
yeah.
that same vibe.
Mm-hmm. Let us discuss the 7 categories for which we execute judgment on Dragon Spirit. Category 1 is the narrative.
A reading from the manual. For years now, the kingdom of Olympia had enjoyed a wonderful period of peace. Even the fearful tale of King Amru's heroic battle with the demon Zawul had been long forgotten by his happy subjects. And when Amru's marriage to Alicia was blessed with the birth of the royal twins, Lace and Iris, the kingdom took it as a sign that the fates were looking favorably upon them. But little did they know that far to the east, the wicked Galda had been amassing an army of evil the likes of which could not be imagined in the blackest thoughts of mankind. Even the fearsome Zawul had been resurrected from the dead to join the murderous cause. Suddenly, without a warning, Galda had struck, kidnapping the Princess Iris and her attending maids for a sacrificial offering in the ceremony of the dark. As Amru lay helplessly on his deathbed, he knew there was but one hope for rescuing his beloved daughter and saving the kingdom from total destruction. He must finally reveal the secret of the magical sword of Arlia to his son, Prince Lace. The mighty spirit of the Blue Dragon must rise again. This is a reading from the manual.
Praise be Bandai. So I don't really have a problem with the story that much. I think its biggest issue is that you really have to buy into the world that they're pitching. They're talking about like royal kids and like these epic battles between multiple enemies, and it lacks clarity. It's kind of muddy.
There's definitely a lot to it, and it almost seems like it kind of deserves an anime, right? It's like it's a complex story, but there's so many holes because it's lack of detail due to it being an NES game or an arcade game. But there's just too many factions going on. I kind of lost track of like who the good guys were and who the bad guys were, and it needs more detail. Like it needs to be a comic book or an anime or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, in playing the arcade version, like there wasn't like a. I let the screen run for a while on the title. I didn't see any story like ever present itself there. But I will say for the story. Now, this is the story that you're given from the manual, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get an entirely alternate version should you choose it in the game, which is super cool.
Yeah.
So we haven't said it yet, but like a huge difference between the arcade and the NES is there is a difficulty selection that is kind of made for you in an intuitive manner. So cool. So like you start. So this started that like the story talking about King Amru, right? He had a heroic battle. That's where the game starts, which is so cool. You're not.
Yeah.
The game doesn't start with you like as the kid Lace going around and trying to save people. You're already playing the prequel, and should you die in the prequel, the story changes its narrative on what happened, where it all becomes a dream, which is so interesting and cool. And you can play out the entirety of the game as the gold dragon instead of the blue dragon, and it becomes like a child's inner thoughts and imagination rather than this great epic battle that actually happened.
Now, could it potentially be the children's thoughts are actually what they think of the real battle going on around them?
I don't think so, because at the end it's like a little, I mean, spoiler, but you beat the game as the gold dragon, right? And you're like a little girl carrying around a stuffed animal of a blue dragon.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like it's completely like dreams and stuff.
It's weird.
Yeah, and it's sort of supposedly the bad ending because you didn't correctly set up the difficulty of the blue dragon. But the ending is so charming. It's like it's almost like a more preferred version because it's just charming. But anyways, I've never seen a game set up a difficulty choice for you in that manner, and it doesn't exist in the arcade. So they made it for these ports, or I didn't play any of the other ports or anything, so just this, and it is just super creative, and it took me by surprise. So cool.
It's definitely the first game that I've ever played that has that kind of built-in difficulty scaling. I think I've definitely played other games, like more modern games that actually do this. Not many though. I may have only played one or two other games that do this kind of thing. But this was definitely the first, I bet. Because it is very different. And
yeah, and I remember it was different back then too.
And Jeff, you didn't know.
Right. So, we're going back and forth and talking about the game, before we're recording, and Archbishop Dracul is talking about the gold dragon. I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? I have no idea, because you must die on the first level in order to like have the difficulty set to a lower thing. I had never died before.
Son of a bitch.
So I was just playing the game and trying to unlock random achievements, and I ended up beefing it on the first level, and then it randomly, I was like, what is this? There's a whole different credit sequence going on. What is going on? And then sure enough, a gold dragon rises. I'm like, so Dracul just sucks at this game. Okay.
Hey, now I did get to level 8 with the blue dragon.
Oh,
That's as far as I got. but that's pretty damn far.
Pretty good.
Yeah, the farthest I've been able to get in this game with the Blue Dragon is 9. But I think that with some more practice, I'd be able to beat it. It just takes the grind, right? Like you need to learn the level.
Mm-hmm.
Suppose.
Son of a
Wow.
bitch. Let us proceed to category 2, which is audio. I will say the music is incredible in this fucking game. Some of the most consistently good music for a soundtrack on the NES. Meanwhile, the sound effects are mediocre.
I think they did pretty good all around. I definitely agree with the music being stellar. Like it's just it's not even like fancy, right? Like as far as the NES goes, like with the way that they use the synth sounds and stuff, it's not even very fancy. Although they definitely manipulated the synthesizer in order to get the sounds they wanted. It's not something like I don't know, like Mr. Gimmick, for example, right? Where there's like sounds all over the place and different layers. It's not like that, but it's very consistent. The compositions are very well thought out, and that that is all due to Masakatsu Mikawa, right? Sound design. And I do think, yeah, the sound effects were definitely mediocre, but it's also a shmup.
You shut your whore mouth. How dare you use that term in front of me?
Sorry, Archbishop, it's a habit.
It's a habit that I'm going to wash your mouth out with barbed wire.
May I offer another opinion?
Sure.
Please.
Music, great. Sound effects, I agree, mediocre. It's too bad that the whole game has you mashing your thumb into the fire button. Like, I'm having to use piano grip on the NES controller to try to shoot as fast as possible. And so I'm getting that super annoying shooting sound that overwrites the entire nice soundtrack. So I don't hear it at all.
Except for the boss fights.
Yeah, there you get it, because you get a little bit of a breather moment as the thing fades in. But my goodness, like, I'm firing so much that I started like the little ting 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 ting, like grating firing sounds get really bad, and it drowns out what could be like a really awesome soundtrack.
A really good point.
And the game like screams old school shoot 'em up, where it could really use that new modern approach where you just hold the button down and it just shoots nonstop.
Well, I mean, you can do that. You just
can
shoot slower.
But
there are some power-ups that you get that will allow you to shoot faster.
yes, oh my god, when I finally got those, like my thumb like loved the game at that point.
Totally agree. And then all you do is just hold down the button. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, as far as the audio is concerned, totally agree with the level. Like, they probably could have just gone without the shoot sound. Because they go without the shoot sound for the boss fights. It's not there.
Yeah, it works much better.
So, I don't know if you can remember or not, but do you guys have a favorite level theme?
That's a great question.
No, but I mean, I do definitely like just even the opening of the dragon taking off from the mountain.
Oh
Like,
yeah, that's epic.
that chime is so simple, but it's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely knew how to get that echoing synth effect. They did it really well.
Mhm.
I think it's probably just because of nostalgia, honestly. But I think the first level for me is probably my favorite track.
I liked the volcano.
That's actually my least favorite track.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, you.
My goodness, you two are at each other's throats tonight.
It's because as we were walking here, I stepped on his robe and he tripped down the stair.
I knew it was something.
Yes. I lost my hat. It's a big hat, too, so I don't know how I lost it, but
I'm sorry about that, man. I know how much you loved your hat.
yeah. Let us proceed to category 3, which is gameplay. A reading from the manual. Press the start button to begin the game. The action begins with Prince Lace using the magical sword of Arlia to transform himself into a blue dragon. There are 2 game modes, the blue dragon mode and the gold dragon mode. The mode is determined at the beginning of the game in a showdown with the demon Zawel. After the start button is pushed, the blue dragon immediately enters the castle of Zawel. If the blue dragon defeats his evil enemy, the game will proceed in the blue dragon mode. However, if Zawel defeats the blue dragon, Lace turns into the gold dragon and play proceeds in this mode. After the showdown with Zawel, the title screen will appear, indicating which game mode you are playing. Push the start button again to continue with the battle. The dragon uses 2 types of fire to defeat its enemies. One against enemies on the ground by pushing the A button, and one against enemies in the air by pushing the B button. To win the game, you must successfully fly through 9 different areas as you approach the dark castle where Galda awaits. This is a reading from the manual. Praise be Bandai.
I'm disappointed in that reading because it feels like it's very misleading.
It is. I mean, it does have some truth in it, right? Like 9 areas.
Except if you're the gold dragon, then
the
there's not 9
difficulty.
areas.
They leave entire levels out as the gold dragon.
That's right.
You don't play as Prince Lace at the beginning.
That's
you're,
true.
You're the dad. Yeah, I don't know. It I feel like they kind of butchered the story trying to help the game players understand what was going on, but yeah, somebody didn't quite understand what was going on making that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lost in translation, probably.
Actually, that's a good point. Yeah, I will say that the mechanic of A and B, like A doing your flight stuff and B doing the ground stuff, this is a direct impact of the game Xevious, for sure. Like Japan was obsessed with the game Xevious, and that mechanic is directly taken from that game.
Yeah, and it's a cool mechanic, so rightfully so.
Yeah.
The fairy cutscenes are cool. Father Abram, you didn't realize that the fairies were actually the maidens of the princess.
Yeah, I had no idea. Until we read that, I was like, all these years, I had no idea what was going on there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this random person shows up. I didn't know if you were rescuing them or if you were, or if they were the dragons. Like, I don't know. It was so ambiguous.
One of them revealed the fact that the folks in the kingdom turned to beasts. So based on this, are you killing innocent villagers the entire game?
That's amazing.
So one of the things that I'm not sure about is, and I don't know if you guys ran into this, but when you beat a level, sometimes the fairies would be grayed out.
Yes. That was super confusing.
Did you ever figure out what that was?
Yeah, so this only applies if you're playing the Blue Dragon mode. But the maidens are only rescued on conditions that are not told to you what they are. So on level 1, you will always get the maiden.
Okay.
On level 2, I'm trying to remember exactly what the condition is, but I believe the condition on number 2 is you must not have level 3 firepower. If you do not have level 3 firepower when you defeat the boss, then she will grant you the additional firepower. So you have rescued her, which makes no sense. So you have to somehow not have done the best you could in order to have rescued her.
What kind of cryptic bullshit is this?
It gets worse. Number 3 and number 5 of the maidens are RNG. You don't have control. They're a 50-50 coin toss whether or not the game just randomly gives you that you rescued them. I think Maiden 3 gives you a 1-up, and I don't know what number 5 does. And then number 4 is super random. I mean, it's not literally random like RNG, but it's you must not have the 3-headed dragon version. You must only have a 2-headed dragon, and then she will grant you the 3-headed dragon, I guess, on the next level or something like that. So it's super cryptic. I was super confused by it, why I was getting them. I actually thought at first it was a graphical glitch. Like, I'm just used to that back in the NES. I'm like, oh, I guess the sprite didn't load. But no, I guess there was actually conditions to it all.
Wow.
Weird. That's very weird.
That is the one big thing that bothered me in the game. I'm like, why are you making something so, like, what seems like important to the game, like rescuing the princess or rescuing the maidens, like an actual cryptic thing that you have zero control over that's not mentioned at all? Bizarre choice.
Yeah, it just seems like a feature creep thing, honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
The bosses I found are way too fucking easy. It was almost like I was guaranteed to kill them when I would approach them. They died so easily. I don't know what you guys ran into, but...
Yeah, I would say a lot of times by the time you reached the boss, right, like you probably were pretty overpowered at that moment. And so, with no exaggeration, the bosses could die in under 5 seconds.
Yeah, if you have the power for it, you can kill them pretty quick. I'd say, honestly, with the exception of the level 8 boss, which was the The door with the two eyes and the tongue.
Oh
that
yeah,
shoots
the
out at
snake.
you.
Yeah, the snake eye thingy.
Oh,
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. So go fuck yourselves.
But yeah, so that one there's definitely that one's actually easy once you learn the pattern. But there's a definite pattern to it. And even with the least amount of power, you'll be in that battle for a long time, but you can defeat him slowly. But it's different because you have to shoot his eyes or its eyes only after he's lashed out at you with his flaming tongue a couple of times. And then when he can be shot in the eyes, he's also shooting at you. So there's basically like a sweeping pattern you have to make.
Yeah.
In order to avoid getting hit and hit him a couple times.
So Father Avram, I have to tell you, I know we thought we were done talking about the arcade version, but I got to this exact boss on the arcade version. And let me tell you, they amped it up to the point I started laughing at how crazy the difficulty was. Because I was like, all right, where's the tongue? Where's the tongue? There's no tongue. Seeing all the differences they made to the NES port actually gives a lot of credit to, like, they made a lot of changes for the better for just playability and fun factor. In the arcade, instead of coming out of the mouth a tongue, it's just a wave of bad guys. They're just like screaming out, and it just becomes bullet hell. And then you're dodging the like blast from the eyes on top of it. It was laughably difficult. I was like, screw it. That was where I ended. I got to that boss. I was like, done. Done.
Jeff Gabor quit.
It was insanely difficult. It was just not worth grinding any farther than that.
Wow.
That's asinine.
Yeah, but it speaks a lot to the the choices that they made for this game. Really impressive.
I found that the controls, there's no like ease in, ease out of the movement of the dragon. It felt very staccato at times, especially when you're trying to like navigate very close quarters.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of frustrated me.
I liked that because it felt like I had fine-tuned control. So I actually liked that, but I agree it's not, there's no easing at all. It's just when you push the D-pad, you're moving. When you're not pushing the D-pad, you're not moving. And that actually saved my ass a couple of times.
I mean, there's power-ups, right, to make you go fast, and once you kind of got your speed at a top level, like barely tapping the D-pad sends you flying pretty fast. So,
speaking of fast, the Glacier Land.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, but it was bullshit.
It does. It is one of the parts in the game. It has a gotcha moment.
It does have a gotcha moment, where it's like you have to pick a path, and if you pick the wrong one, you're dead.
So, Father Avram, please explain what you're talking about.
In Glacier Land, which is stage 6 as the Blue Dragon, I think.
I'll take your word for it.
So you reach the end portion, the end stretch of the level, and basically, I think they're trying to give the illusion of like swooping down through a valley, which it really does pull off. That it sells. Like you get that effect, but you suddenly just speed up, and you're just flying through these corridors with jagged edges. And not only that, but there are obstacles, like those vine obstacles that are in your way that you have to blast through as you're doing so. It branches off into multiple paths. You have to pick a path. Some are easier than others. And then there's also a section later on where there's like these falling glaciers that you need to blow up and dodge. If you have the really powerful, if you're really powerful, then you can just knock the glaciers out, no problem. But if you have a lower power fireball, then they break up into shards, and then you have to blow up the shards as well, or dodge them. And it's just suddenly chaotic. right? It's like you're moving along, you have this expectation that you have set for like 5 levels, right? And then you get to level 6, it's more of the same, and then suddenly you speed up and you're like, what is this fresh hell? And I died. Like I was like just like, oh and then so I died, and then the second time through I was able to get it. But yeah, there is a gotcha moment that I was actually pleasantly surprised about this gotcha moment because it wasn't the stereotypical gotcha moment. I'm gonna throw a title out there, Section Z. Where Section Z, if you take the wrong path, there's no going back. Like you just see the wall coming at you, and you're like, "Oh, I'm dead." With this one, it's fast, but the gotcha happens really quick. It's not like they send you down a corridor and then it just suddenly stops.
True.
It's just kind of like an inlet, and if you go that way, you can save yourself. In fact, I almost took that path both times that I tried in this attempt that I'm describing here, and was able to save myself on both attempts. So it's a fun little section of the level, but it takes you off guard, and it's super hard. I mean, I think it's... I don't know if I'd say it's super hard. It's just I don't really have.
It's intense
for it. It's intense. It's probably the most intense part of the game, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's.
I would say during the jungle gets pretty intense too. Until I found out that I couldn't defeat those cones with the bugs that crawl out of it.
Oh, those are horrible.
I couldn't. I was like, how am I getting stuck in the second level? I don't understand. Finally, I understood, or I figured out by accident, that you can destroy those cones.
Yep.
And that was the saving grace. It was like, whoa, okay, so now I can actually advance.
Wait, you can destroy the cones?
Yeah, you just gotta lay into them.
Oh.
It makes it so much easier.
What actually got me through that stage, well, usually, is if I'm not dodging, but when I got through that part of the stage really easily when I had the 3 dragon power up, because the little dragons at your side, they don't take damage, so I could just kind of like put them almost like on top of the vines, and like blast through them.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think I've ever blown up one of those cone things. That's weird.
The last thing I'm going to bring up, from my perspective anyway, is I felt like there were too many power-ups in this game.
I agree.
Like
100%.
I couldn't keep track of what I was supposed to get, what I was supposed to dodge. I knew for a fact I shouldn't get the skull. Yeah. But I would get everything else because I didn't know, and either to my benefit or to my detriment. I had no idea to this day. And even after reading the manual, I'm like, I'm not going to remember any of this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much just pick up everything unless it's a skull, really. But I don't know, like some of them, like the red fireball things, I thought those were useless. Yeah,
I thought those were useless too.
But they're not. They like up your fireball power or whatever.
Right.
But,
yep.
But it's not obvious, right? You pick it up and you're like, okay, what now? Like, what did that do?
There's one power up, the one that like causes an earthquake, where it just gives your brain a seizure.
Yeah.
It's so bad. The entirety of the screen just violently shakes left and right, left and right, left and right, left and right for like a good 30 seconds. It feels like, and it's like, I don't even know what it does. It's just
it kills everything on the ground.
Oh, yeah. Lovely. Like, all right, just the ground, but everything in the air is safe, right?
Yep.
But you can't see any of it.
Yeah. Oh man, that was hard to watch. My goodness.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I didn't like it either, but it was useful for me. It helped me get through. What level is it that it gives it to you at the same exact
I
location?
think it's the first level.
No, you can get it in the first level, but there's a later level. It's like level. It's the undersea level, actually.
Yeah, I think it was undersea. The undersea level, that was one of the only ones where I actually had to like really, really learn. Was when there's like these like snake heads that come out of holes.
Oh God, yes,
Those
those
are
are
the
horrible.
worst.
Brutal. Where they come out and they shoot so randomly. Or, I mean, not random, but like they're so quick you can't really dodge them or even kill them. So you just kind of got to learn where they are and just maneuver around them, and then they're a cakewalk. But I don't even attempt to fight them. It's just like maneuver around them.
Yeah,
That
pointless
part
fighting.
sucked. Yeah, that was the only part I really was like frustrated with the game.
Yep, that was a brick wall for me for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. I would try and shoot them because if you shoot them in the face, their heads go away and they stop shooting at you. But the problem is if you're not like 100%, if you don't start shooting beforehand and hit it before the head shows up, you will get hit. There's no way around it.
To your point about the bosses, those guys are 100 times harder than any one of the bosses.
Yeah.
It's true. Yep.
Definitely.
Yep. What did you guys think was the hardest boss in the game?
Last one. Very last one.
Okay,
I don't know.
so I didn't fight the last one, so I'm not.
I had a hard time with level 6 out of all of them.
Which one was that?
It was like a dragon, and
level 6 is the glacier land, right?
Yeah, and it was like some sort of dragon that like shoot double fireballs and also like icicles at you.
Well, what happens is when he gets hit, his tailpiece explodes.
Is that what happens? Because I wasn't even watching that. I was just like trying to.
Yeah, when you hit him, his last section explodes into like ice shards, and so if you're not watching for that, it can really mess you up.
And that's the one where like his body or some orb kind of flies around afterwards. Is that it? Or
no. That's you're thinking of the dragon that like blows into bits.
Yeah, that's a different one.
Okay,
that's a different one.
I don't know. I beat all of them so fast. I just can't remember them.
Son of a bitch. Anything else for gameplay?
I mean, there's so much to talk about with this game, really, but I'm actually amazed at how much we've talked about it. I will say a couple of points that I had was that the gameplay is very smooth. I mean, it's just there's no other way to say it. It's a very smooth playing NES game where other NES games aren't quite there, you know. So, and that's sort of on the technical side as well. It's just very, very smooth gameplay.
I will say, I wanted to add one other thing that I really liked about the gameplay that you can't say for a lot of shoot 'em ups is when you die, they actually do give you the ability to recover your like items, or you don't feel like you have to like completely start the game over to like progress. You die in Gradius, just reset your Nintendo and start over. Or we did Legendary Wings a year ago. That's another one. You die, like screw it. Like just hit the reset button and start over. You'll have a better shot at finishing the game. Not here. Like you actually can take a death. You have 0 power, but they put you in a place where it's like, all right, pick up 3-4 upgrades. Maybe you'll get something good, and you can continue on. It's very well balanced.
It is. The one thing that I will say to counterweight that, and maybe this is just, part of the natural built-in difficulty, which makes sense, but I'll say it anyway, is that if you get hit, you lose your power, right? And then you can really get into a really bad situation, especially with, like, for example, those bug things that crawl around and leave the vines behind.
Yep.
If you have low power in that section, like like you might as well die and go back so where you can pick up something and retry, unless you are really good at dodging and you get lucky and get through that section.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's a couple of sections like that where it's just like, yeah, if I lose my power here, or like I got hit, I'm dead, essentially.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's the shooting divines for me was the same. It was like, if you don't have like a good enough power up, you're gonna be screwed. You'll have like one head and one stream of fire going forward and then you leave yourself nowhere to move when the other stuff is coming at you.
Yep.
I will say the power ups were really cool in that I know there's a lot of them, but I've never seen a game where you're dragon. You're a single headed dragon, then you go to a pink dragon, or then you're like a green dragon, and then you got 2 heads, and then you got 3 heads, or maybe you turn into 3 dragons. There's a crazy amount of variety. It's all over the map.
Yeah. You're actually showing my hand a little bit with technical, but yeah.
All right, let us proceed to category 4, which is graphics. So for me, I enjoyed the player graphics very much. I also enjoyed the backgrounds quite a bit. Where it kind of fell flat for me was the bosses and the enemies.
So I think the enemies, yes, but I actually enjoyed the bosses. They didn't recycle bosses like other games of its ilk.
That's a good point.
Arnov.
Like
Legendary Wings.
And Legendary.
Oh, yeah, Legendary Wings recycled everything.
Yeah, they didn't recycle anything in this game. Everything is new, but that variety, right? It comes with a price, which is, it's not. They're not going to be as, I guess, captivating as if they were more detailed or had more frames of animation or whatever. But yeah, I think the background graphics were great, all except the Glacier Land. I didn't have a problem with the graphics themselves, but the white color scheme was so harsh. At least at first, it took me a while for my eyes to get used to it. But it was so harsh after seeing like the black screen, and then all of a sudden you're just on this white, like sheer white. Your TV is screaming at you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it hard in places to see some of the enemies and track the bullets, because the bullets are bright colored as well, and so it's like, so you really have to kind of like, I had to like squint a little bit in order to get through that level because it was so damn bright.
I didn't think about it until just now, but like you were talking about the enemy designs, and there's these like flying bugs, and there's like these giant like Godzilla type creatures, and a lot of just like insect looking flying beings and nasty looking creatures and plants and dragons. You get to the ice level, and then you're just bombing seals.
I know. I was gonna bring that. I was gonna bring that up. Yes, I forgot, but I was gonna bring that up. That's like, since when did sea lions commit such a crime that they deserve to be bombed?
I don't know. It's super random. I don't know why that is there.
That's funny. In the same level, you have like Megatron face. Comes out of the ground.
It's totally. Yep.
Yeah, that was weird.
The other weird part in terms of the graphics, I really liked them, but the opening part is so cool, right? You get to choose the blue dragon, and there's a cutscene, and you hold up your sword, and like lightning strikes, whatever, and then you're flying off of the blue or the gold dragon. But for some reason, you're on a giant mountain that looks like a screaming George Washington head.
I know.
It's super.
I
It's like,
never saw it that way before, but that's really funny.
Yeah.
Why is he screaming like that? It's like Mount Rushmore got put down to just George Washington. Very upset.
Oh, that's great.
It is worth seeing the arcade version of that same mountain, and it's like this gnarly looking, like reptile-y looking face with like jagged teeth and stuff, and it's all cool looking.
Yeah.
You know, that mountain was probably a mountain in America before it turned into, you know, the presidential heads. And what happened was the patriarchy decided to harvest it and change it into, you know, their portraits.
I can see how that could happen. Yeah.
Let us proceed to category 5, which is box art and presentation. So the box art is okay. It feels kind of generic. I wish they would have leaned into the anime style just a tad bit more, like they did for the commercial.
I agree.
It looks like they're right there, but like they don't push it far enough to where it feels stylized. It's very generic.
It kind of looks like whoever did the anime art for the advertisement, or I almost said advertisement.
Oh God!
Yeah,
that would have been
for the advertisement.
That would have been like lashes with a fucking axe.
What? All right, sorry, but you know, it's almost like the person that did the anime art for the commercial said, "Hey, son, why don't you give us a shot at making the box art?"
Yeah.
You know, a very talented son, by the way, but yeah, not quite there. Also, the way he's holding his sword, when I first glance at this, or actually every time I glance at this, the first thing that comes to mind is like, was this done by AI? Because it looks like he has too many fingers. But he actually has the right amount of fingers, but at first glance, it just looks like it's just this huge stack of fingers.
It's a stack of sausages. It's kind of gross, actually.
Like it's just too much detail there in the fingers. And then and then what they don't do here, which is really surprising. This is really surprising, and once I say it, you guys are probably going to agree with me. Is the princess is like faded in the background. She's not capitalized on whatsoever.
Yeah.
Which is very out of character for any NES game in this time period.
I'm a fan of the floating eyes. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Is
it the mountain? Is it the mountain that has eyes? Like, it's weird. Like, design wise, it's very strange.
Yeah, I have no idea. That is weird.
What do you think, Mr. Gabor?
All right. So, did you guys see the Japan, like the Famicom version of the box art?
Yes.
It's so cool.
It is.
And it definitely looks like the American version looked at that first, and they're like, we can't have, anime. Like, that ain't going to sell in America. And so they did their take on it, because it has the same, like, attire and overall, like, kind of composition in a way. It just sucks compared to the Famicom version. The Famicom version is so good, and it has, like, it has your hero that looks awesome, and then it has your princess much more prominently displayed, and then it has a bad guy in the background that just looks awesome. Like, It's a very cool design. I don't know what was going on with, like, the fear of Japan back in the 80s, but it was definitely, like, taking over some really cool art that should have been used to sell to kids, because that would have done it for me, I'll tell you that much.
I absolutely adore the cover art for Dragon Quest III, and that was hardcore anime. and not hardcore anime.
Yeah, that's different.
No, it was like, really, really, really anime. So, and it had like a bunch of different characters, and it was like, it had like a dragon in the background and like this the map of the world and everything. It was fantastic. Screamed adventure, but they didn't do that for Dragon Warrior 3, which is the same game, only released in the US.
I mean, it's pretty common knowledge that most of the Japanese, Famicom games, the instruction manuals, the box art, it's all better than Nintendo of America stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, I mean, when you look at Dragon Spirit cover box here, the first thing that comes to my mind for the Famicom version I'm talking about, when you look at this, it's like, wait a minute, is that Breath of the Wild Link? Like, is it?
Yeah.
It really looks like this could have been like a a Legend of Zelda cover art piece that got morphed into something else. It's very close.
Yeah.
But no, go ahead, Jeff.
No, I'm just saying, it's just so cool. I can't get over like how cool the villain looks on that poster. That's all.
It actually gives the villain some personality.
Just a side note from like a collector's standpoint, like these Famicom games made by Namco had mini like Genesis shell boxes.
Yeah.
They're like a collector's dream. Just wanted to say that.
So the back of the box for Dragon Spirit NES, in America, the American version, I like the front of the box. I think it's fine, except for the little points we mentioned. Back of the box, however, I think is hot garbage. I think that the little polka dotted whirly designs are distracting and cluttery. I think the screenshots that they use, I mean, some of them look like they're straight up from the Game Boy. They just don't do the game justice whatsoever. There's only one cool screenshot, and that's of the opening scene when, the dragon is descending on George Washington. But yeah, I think it's pretty much hot garbage.
Yeah, it's a little lazy.
Let us proceed to category 6, which is fun factor.
Is this even a topic? Like, do we even need to talk about this section?
I don't think so. I had a fantastic time with this game. I always have.
I've revisited this game throughout my life for fun and for nostalgia, because it is a very fun shmup.
You filthy sucker!
Sorry, Archbishop. I'll whip myself tonight.
Yes, you will.
Yeah. So, no, I totally have fun with this game, but I've definitely gone through periods of my life where this is the last freaking game I want to look at, and I don't know why that is, but it's like it's like, oh god, like, really, you're asking to play Dragon Spirit right now? Like, I don't know what it is. It's just it's a mood thing or whatever. But but for the most part, I have fun with this game, and when playing it for this review, I had a blast. I got the furthest I've ever gotten with the Blue Dragon, which is astounding. I've never beat this game with the Blue Dragon. I beat it with the Gold Dragon multiple times. And I think previously with the Blue Dragon, the furthest I've achieved is stage 6. But yeah, I was able to get to stage 9 this time around. So yeah, at some point in my life, as I revisit it, hopefully I will eventually beat the game.
Yeah, for me, I agree with for me, it's a little seasonal. Like I like to play it around Christmas time, because that's when I got it as a kid.
I mean, I never really played this, so I don't have like a whole bunch of nostalgia like clouding my judgment at all. And I actually really liked it. Like I think it holds up. It's really well done. It's fun. I actually really want to go back and I'm not just saying this to gloat, but I really do want to see if I can finish the blue dragon mode hitless. Like I think it's possible.
Oh wow!
Like, I think that's one of the retro achievements for the game, and I'm like, I think I can do it. I think I can do it. It's possible. Once you kind of have the game memorized, I think you can do it.
That's quite a feat. I hope that you put that on your channel.
Yeah, I should try to stream that. It's a fun game. It really is.
And honestly, I will say, nostalgia aside, because nostalgia is definitely a reason for me, but it's not really a primary reason for me liking this game. I'm not really a huge shoot 'em up fan anyway, so I think that's where for me it's just kind of like I don't want to look at this game right now. But it is hands down my favorite shoot 'em up game.
For me, it's I would agree. It's one of my favorites for sure. It's one that keeps my attention and keeps me wanting to go back to it. Let us proceed to category 7, which is technical. Now, the thing that I am most astounded about is that I didn't run into any slowdown with this.
You must not gotten very far in the game again.
Really?
I mean, there's a handful of the bosses have some serious slowdown. There's this like
really, I don't remember that.
There's this plant boss.
Yeah.
Like with all the things that come out.
Yeah, that one had some serious issues with slowdown. But that's really one of the only ones that really stands out. And just because it was like shooting, I don't know, 20 projectiles at the same time, and it was clearly one of those like it was a animated background for the boss, but it was throwing a lot at you all at once, and it was really slow.
What was that, stage 3, I think, or maybe?
Yeah, the jungle.
Mm-hmm.
No, the jungle was the spider, wasn't it?
Oh, was it the spider?
The jungle wasn't the spider.
Oh no, you're right. The spider was the jagged edges, the cliff, the mountain level. But yeah, no, I definitely ran into slowdown. Not only in that boss, because that boss was definitely a culprit of that, but also if you went through a period of time where you did a lot of dodging in a level where there happened to be a lot of enemies, especially I found any enemies that blew up, like specifically, I don't remember what stage they're in, maybe stage 5 or something. There's these bird things that fly in and then they explode in like a spray of feathers. You will slow down for that.
Really? I don't remember that.
Yeah. If there are enough objects on screen, the game will slow down. It's not terrible, mind you. It's a manageable slowdown, but it's there. For me, I love the variety in this game. I think this isn't just a feat of graphic proportions. It's a feat of technical proportions. They don't recycle bosses, as mentioned. It's a huge variety of monsters. Every level is using, different art. It's not just palette swaps, which is was the main, I don't know what you want to say, the main tool in the toolbox that they used for variety in the NES. They didn't do that with this game. Every level was different. Every background was different. And all of the states of the power-ups you get, like all of the states that either the player character can be in, the white dragon, the green dragon, the gold dragon, the blue dragon, 1 head, 2 head, 3 head, the triple dragon,
The tiny dragon.
the tiny dragon.
Oh yeah, that too.
There's so many states. It's a technical feat in and of itself. So very impressive.
Mr. Gabor, do you have any thoughts on technical?
No, I didn't really run into anything that would be like considered like really bugs or anything issues. It's just a little bit of slowdown, which, come on, I mean, Mega Man has slowdown. Like, it's nothing to like cause this game to like go off the rails with. So no, for a game that like people really don't talk about, it's extremely well done and executed at top-notch abilities.
Let us proclaim the hints and cheats of our game.
A reading from the manual. Rescue Iris's kidnapped maids. You can receive rewards by rescuing Iris's 6 attending maids. The maids can be rescued by defeating the powerful boss monsters at the end of each of the first 6 areas. If you have fulfilled certain conditions at that time, the maids will appear and offer some kind of reward. There are no rewards in the Gold Dragon mode. Look for the compound items and rescue items. Compound items and rescue items enable power increases for 2 to 3 types at one time. The compound items can easily be taken from the flashing white enemies, but the rescue items must be searched for with ground fire, as they are hidden at certain points along the ground. A reading from the manual.
Praise be Bandai.
One thing, I played through the game 6-7 times and could not find one of the power-ups. There is a secret power-up that's an exclamation mark. I don't even know what it does. It's not in the manual. I just know it's in the game because it's a retro achievement and I see the icon for what it is. Cannot find it. So if anybody knows where to find it, how to get it, I'm highly interested in knowing.
Huh.
I swear to God, I have gotten it.
No,
I swear.
really?
I think I have too.
So take that, Mr. Gabor.
I can't remember. It might have been in the glacier level, actually.
Dang it.
One of the things on the ground trapped in the ice.
I mean, I
Maybe.
do know it's not in. I think they said you can't get it from like just like blasting one of the pods, like, or it's not an enemy.
It's not a pod. I'm talking about like these white spheres that are like encased in the ice.
That must be it. That makes sense. All right, now I know what I'm doing tonight.
Yeah, not really much to say here. It's except for this. What the hell is a rescue item?
I don't know.
I think those are the orbs, the blue and the red orbs on the ground, as opposed to getting them from enemies. Right?
Oh yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Like as if someone put them there to rescue.
So they're pods. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm grasping at straws. I don't know why they're named that, but
yeah, it's a weird name for sure.
Yeah.
Probably something lost in translation, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, not really much to say other than what's said here. There's not a whole lot of hints and cheats in this game. It's really, I think, probably the only hint I can give is how to beat boss 8 that I already talked about some length earlier. So, yeah. And now, brethren, let us offer each other the body of price. So we couldn't find the price of Dragon Spirit when it was out on the market originally, unfortunately. I hate when this happens, but it's just a product of, catalogs and price lists fading into obscurity.
I vaguely remember it being somewhere between $20 and $30. I want to say 25.
I mean, that's pretty cheap, actually.
Yeah, it was cheap. I remember it not being very expensive.
So it's just as it's a pretty average price game now, or I should say low priced, low average, I guess. A loose copy is $12.23. Definitely not the cheapest game, but you're not.
Let me just say, for $12.23, you could be spending a lot worse.
You could do a lot worse for $12.23 for sure. The box only $39.99. Manual only $6.54. That's actually a cheap manual. Complete in box $67.19, which is pretty average. Somewhere, I don't know, what would you say is average price for a complete in box? Somewhere between like $65 and $150.
Yeah, probably. I would say closer to 100 would be.
Yeah, so like 100 is average. So this is below average, but it's like I said, on the cheaper side. Brand new, complete in box, never been opened, sealed, $200. This is striking to me.
That's a steal.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
$200 for the game never opened. Like, is there really that many of these floating around? Or is it just not
I
wanted?
doubt it. It wasn't a very expensive game back then, and nobody played it.
Yeah, that's got to be what it is. It's just not really a desired game. No demand for it.
Yeah.
Which is really sad, by the way. And I will be super upset if somebody listening to this podcast causes this price to go up to like $5,000.
Hold on, I'm just looking real quick.
Dragon Spirit, the next little Samson, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
They have like a graded one for $400,
and that's graded.
Yeah.
Usually they're more than that for graded. Well, that's not entirely true.
Somebody's selling it. Hey, look what I just found online here. I looked up a new sealed copy of Dragon Spirit to see how much it was. I was looking for a graded one, but I stumbled upon a new sealed one, and on the front is a price tag of $14.96.
No way.
Yep.
Well, there you have it. That's pretty crazy. Does some of those price tags actually say what the department store name was? Does it say on there?
It doesn't.
Okay, so it's just a price tag.
Yep.
I mean, unfortunately, that price tag could have been from anywhere at any time, right? Like it could have been on
at any time during its production run. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, but either way, that does fall in line with your 20 to 30 estimate. So that's pretty cool. I like it.
Let us now execute judgment upon Dragon Spirit and decide which of the 7 cardinal sins it has committed. Father Avram, in regards to narrative, what is your final judgment?
In regards to narrative, Dragon Spirit has committed no fault.
Deacon Gabor, in regards to narrative, what is your final judgment?
In regards to narrative, Dragon Spirit has committed no fault.
In regards to narrative and in the presence of this assembly, Dragon Spirit has been spared. Father Avram, in regards to audio, what is your final judgment?
In regards to audio, Dragon Spirit has committed no fault.
Deacon Gabor, in regards to audio, what is your final judgment?
In regards to audio, Dragon Spirit has committed a most heinous cardinal sin.
I invoke the talisman of absolution.
I second.
This is BS.
In regards to audio and in the presence of this assembly, Dragon Spirit has been spared. Father Avram, in regards to gameplay, what is your final judgment?
In regards to gameplay, Dragon Spirit has committed no fault.
Deacon Gabor, in regards to gameplay, what is your final judgment?
In regards to gameplay, Dragon Spirit has committed no fault.
In regards to gameplay and in the presence of this assembly, Dragon Spirit has been spared. Father Avram, in regards to graphics, what is your final judgment?
In regards to graphics, Dragon Spirit has committed no fault.
Deacon Gabor, in regards to graphics, what is your final judgment?
In regards to graphics, Dragon Spirit has committed no fault.
In regards to graphics and in the presence of this assembly, Dragon Spirit has been spared. Father Avram, in regards to box art and presentation, what is your final judgment?
In regards to box art and presentation, Dragon Spirit has committed a most heinous cardinal sin.
Deacon Gabor, in regards to box art and presentation, what is your final judgment?
In regards to box art and presentation, Dragon Spirit has committed a most heinous cardinal sin.
In regards to box art and presentation in the presence of this assembly, Dragon Spirit has committed a loathsome cardinal sin deserving of hellfire and damnation.
1.
Father Avram, in regards to fun factor, what is your final judgment?
In regards to fun factor, Dragon Spirit has committed no fault.
Deacon Gabor, in regards to fun factor, what is your final judgment?
In regards to fun factor, Dragon Spirit has committed no fault.
In regards to fun factor and in the presence of this assembly, Dragon Spirit has been spared. Father Avram, in regards to technical, what is your final judgment?
In regards to technical, Dragon Spirit has committed no fault.
Deacon Gabor, in regards to technical, what is your final judgment?
In regards to technical, Dragon Spirit has committed no fault.
In regards to technical and in the presence of this assembly, Dragon Spirit has been spared. Dragon Spirit, by the authority vested in me, we redeem you of any faults which you have committed, and hereby revere you as a jewel in the crown of the Nintendo Entertainment System. Fly! Fly! This concludes tonight's service. Remember, our liturgy does not simply come to an end. Those assembled are sent forth to bring the fruits of the ministry to the world.